stops if they're going to be able to win out on a map type that they have yet to win out on before.
Now that we're done with the hand tricks and the magic tricks, get out the doors with the Winston 3-2-1, Ace as your Sombra player for WGS, while Gen.G sticks to the 3-3. They had the Moirai at the gates, possibly expecting WGS to have maybe a 3 DPS, which is what they've run a lot. But now that Moirai, can you sacrifice the Zen utility of not having Transcendence against a Grav or an EMP, but you have more healing from the Moirai.
So rotations taking place here, buying time for Ace to get the EMP up, maybe even set up just a vanilla hack onto Gen.G, create an opening for WGS to dive on into.
Oberon diving right on in, and WGS give up that space, and he's chasing, even with maybe a Brig that could be causing him trouble, but WGS ignore him entirely. It's rotations, ring around the Rosie. First cap about to go in from Gen.G before WGS step on. It's Gabe Bolshi who's
That's a quick EMP.
leading the contest. And there's the EMP already. Ace got that so quick from these long extended fights. They only hold on to 16%, but Gen.G only lost their Brig through that EMP engage.
Still have to stabilize. Luckily, though, for them, they do have the Moirai to do just that, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough. Vanilla hack onto Bliss as well, so they don't have the area healing from their Lucio player.
Ace is about to have another EMP. And this is not Doha. This guy's name is Ace, and he's already popping off on the Sombra. So things stabilizing, as you said. Gen.G will give up the point in a second. WGS can now take a lead.
Yeah, 30-second EMPs, just a new average being thrust into the meta right now. But Gen.G, they have a couple of ultimates to play with of their own. Still, though, when you have a threat like Ace right now, where he's getting these EMPs, generating them so quickly, I'm still not sure if they're going to be able to see this coming.
Oh, Oberon just dove right into an EMP, and he can't use the Primal. Self-destruct from Uyal maybe stops the follow-up temporarily from WGS, and it's Primal to Primal, or maybe Oberon's not going to want to use it. They've lost too much, doesn't want to invest such an important ultimate. They want to use that to regain control. Speaking of that, WGS hold on.
Ult tracking is so important in these kinds of fights, but how can you track a Sombra that's getting EMPs in 30, 40 seconds, something like that? That's just too fast. They don't see that coming. Bliss had the sound barrier available, but without the ability to know when it's going to arrive, you can't actually react to it. So he gets hacked as well, not able to pull the sound barrier out. Now, Gen.G need to get aggressive. They need to get these kills quickly.
They got to do something with this grab. Gen.G, this is their winning condition. And Oberon is actually trying to disrupt the formation with the Primal, see if he can catch anyone off this cliff. No picks yet, as the grab finally thrown out from Glister. Now starting to dwindle these supports of WGS, who tried to save Noah with that barrier at the start. Gen.G now quick rotations to get that point back. As WGS at 90+% now, they might have to give this one up if Enocast is out of the fight. Unless Ace wants to go for a confident EMP, but we've already given this one up after that mech is gone.
Yeah, that would have been an overly confident EMP if he would have invested it there, but at least he's got it for this next fight, and then to be able to dive in off of that. Enocast at 60% now, as Gen.G won't be able to ward him off as freely. Could build into the Primal Rage, especially with the backup of having Valentine having the rally available as well. They won't have any other support ults, so it's really just going to come down to pure front-loaded aggression for WGS.
Ace gets ready with the EMP. I mean, he's in clear sight. Like, come at me, bro. Gen.G have the barrier, though, and Bliss was able to hide from that EMP from Ace. So now have to clear the point. Wuyal creating that space with the self-destruct. Now it's Oberon's turn to unleash a Primal, and he goes on in, wants to corner some people. He does get hacked, so Ace slowing down the pace of this fight. Getting into last fight territory where Gen.G have the number advantage, and WGS now want to try and have one last push with all of their members.
That's all they're going to have available. They don't have the... I mean, they're going very dive heavy, right? They're not playing that same setup where Gen.G actually offering up the Zarya. So this is going to potentially just come down to pure control. And if Gabe Bolshi actually doesn't get this Graviton, Gen.G is simply going to have way too much pressure on whoever gets caught into that, and they could swing that fight in their favor easily. That through that alone.
Yeah, you hope that Noah gets Transcendence. You hope Gable, she has a self-destruct, because this grab is coming from Glister. He has his eye on the supports, takes care of Noah, forces out the Transcendence early. That's a good start from Gen.G, but they still have to fight for point control along with working this winning condition. Bubble is bursted. Our WGS's dreams of this point bursted. Glister with the grab up into the air deals with the other support of Oporochi, who maybe had Grav, as the flip goes over to Gen.G. And now to clean up this fight, though, without Glister, big source of DPS for this team, WGS, it's going to be through chaos. It's going to be through fighting, through everything they have. They don't have the ultimates, unless Ace can come up with a 30-second EMP, but Gen.G, with the ultimates they had left, the self-destruct, the primal, Gen.G get the point back. Overtime will go away, and I don't think WGS have enough members to keep the fight going.
Gen.G incredibly fortunate that Oran's on their team, able to finish that fight out. I mean, that was so dangerous the way that was played. Gen.G having Glister actually just solo grabbing onto the Lucio player was simply not enough. I think they needed to at least lock down the Zenyatta, and probably one more. Any one more could have even landed the Lucio in there as well. I think they just waited a little bit. The opportunity was not there for them. I think they were really just trying to make sure that they got rid of what could have been a sound barrier momentum shift from WGS. But either way, it just wasn't enough value from the grab. But luckily, Oberon was there with the primal to make the big play, knock off the Brigitte player, and then finish off these Zenyatta by himself as well. Now we go into Nepal Village, where Gen.G actually bringing into play the Mei that we saw earlier as well. Not the Ana play coming in from Creative, but very proficient on the Zenyatta. Wouldn't be surprised to see him on that, and there he is again.
Maybe the Ana would have been nice just to combine the Biotic with the wall of Weall, but now directly onto the point. This is going to be hard for WGS, who are just running triple DPS. At least the double support resources might help. But Weall can easily trap anyone who enters his point away from the rest of this team. Not a lot of point presence from the particular heroes that WGS have, except maybe Enocast. So there, that first cap obviously goes through from Gen.G. We're playing more towards the point, playing around the Weall wall. Maybe just using it as protection for the moment, but now this could be the moment where WGS engage, but not when you don't have Pharah.
And Gen.G still in control right now. The wall, you know, it's not about isolation, it's about damage prevention at this point, because Creative, before he was actually on this Moirai, he was on the Zen, and they didn't have the healing. Now WGS can dive in. Gen.G just simply doesn't have the ability to sustain through.
It's a slow battle, the DPS that WGS are running. Once they see the wall come out from Weall, all they had to do was just eventually have all the fire rockets break down Oberon's shield, and you deal with Creative last. So WGS only give up about 40% before they can take it back. And playing this on defense is going to favor them much more. Weall close to Blizzard. I don't expect he does still swap despite being 70% on Blizzard.
Yeah, they actually, he's not going to be able to have enough value with the Blizzard, because best case scenario, you maybe catch Enocast, but you still have 5 other members that are surrounding you, dealing damage to you as you're trying to finish off the kill onto the Hammond, who's caught in a Blizzard already as it is. So Gen.G making that swap, this is going to be a lot more of a holistic approach to dealing with the triple DPS from WGS.
Oh, an EMP only catches these supports. Maybe the value they're looking for is WGS. Didn't actually get any kills from that EMP engage. And now Gen.G's turn for the advantage as they use Bliss's barrier and they regain control of the point. So Gen.G can play this as slow as they want, because it's WGS's turn to attack. As without a Hammond, there's no one to really set the play up to bowl people out of this point. So WGS just gonna try and farm up some ultimates, but there's a nano Pharah of Valentine, instantly finishing off Creative and rotating to the left towards the right, and there's the barrage onto the supports and the exposed members of Gen.G. But can WGS actually flip it? They're getting the kills.
These are really good disengages actually from Gen.G, just cycling away from the threats. Valentine was a huge one there, and they just back away from it. Use lines of sight to make sure that they're constantly rotating out of harm's way, and that's what they've been doing here this entire time, and now focusing their pressure outwardly from the point. They have the healing, but maybe not enough to keep Oberon alive. He's gonna be able to come back into the next fight though with Primal available.
But at least WGS have their focus at the right spot. You've seen Creative is not living very long, not because, hey, he's not a shabby player, but because the rockets and all the poke damage of WGS are running right into Creative. And that's the biggest source of healing from them. At least WGS take it back at the right moment, 99% for Gen.G.
Yeah, WGS knows that if they're just chipping away at the Moira, or rather at everybody but the Moira will be able to heal it out. So clever of them to be focusing their pressure instead onto Creative, force the fade out. That opens up opportunities for Ace to go in and get the kill, along with Inacast as well, providing some pressure. But Gen.G now going to be relying on the EMP to get the job done here. Need to find a target to make use of this.
Okay, do you have the strongest arms to throw your Translocator all the way up into the Farmer C? He was eyeing it, decides to go for his opposition, where Ace finishes him off despite being hacked. The gun-to-gun duel, but now Gen.G losing control of WGS. To step back on this point, keep this overtime going, and I mean, Enocast is also trying to bowl people out of it. You need this point presence to come from WGS, who have the ultimates. There's an EMP again from Ace. Don't need a barrage. WGS saved the fight? Maybe? As Gen.G are actually fighting this one back.
They actually nanoed up Ace, and this is the scariest sound I think I've ever heard in my entire life, is hearing the nano version of the SMG from Sombra. But Gen.G, despite that nano boost, looking like they're going to clean up, investing everything that they have left in the tank, and they secure it. 2-0 start for Gen.G, getting the lead early on, 1-0 advantage for them in the series.
I hope that was as hard of to watch as it was for you guys, for me. Because it was hard to tell who was going to win that fight. It was so back and forth, but when Gen.G get that take so early on in the map, they can play defensive. They can just play around the point. They don't care if the fight lasts forever, because they will take advantage. All they had to do was win the last war, and they did just that. So first start for them.
Yeah, and on top of that, it really felt like, certainly, I mean, all those fights went in favor of WGS, or at least more often than not, it's just a factor of WGS being able to get on the point, gain control, and sustain, get their score lined up, and go from there.
Well, it's a 1-0 start. We're heading into Assault next. We're going to throw it to a break, and we'll see you guys soon. So 1-0 start for Gen.G, as like you said, Heurix, WGS not going to get their first control win of Contenders today, maybe next week. We got a few more weeks to go. We will have Assault coming up next.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe they can weasel their way into a map 5 and see if they can claim one there. But at least as it is right now, that's just not going to be the case. And we'll see if maybe they can turn things back around. But so far, we've seen them have essentially just one win on each different map type, where we've seen the hybrid, we've seen the escort, we've seen the assault from them, but they got to get a few of those collectively in a single series. We've only seen them do that against Fusion University, who, as we know, are just addicted to seeing map 5s in whatever form they can possibly find them in. But Gen.G is another team we've seen quite a bit of these 3-2 affairs. We've seen them go up against Meta Athena as well as Mystic in a map 5 scenario. Unfortunately, or at least rather fortunately for Gen.G, they were able to close those out. Unfortunately for WGS, that Gen.G has shown so much composure over the course of the season, despite being in harrowing situations against very solid teams.
But I mean, we can just lean on this last series, right? Or same thing with Meta Athena. They only had a few map wins in the entire season. Then you turn around and you win in a game 5 against past season champions. So you can't really put it past someone like WGS, the same kind of map record, to maybe pull up an upset. It's only been one map, so stay comfortable. We got a few more to go. We're jumping into Paris to see if WGS will love the result of this.
To start things off here on Paris, I mean, this is a team where, you know, we talk about Meta Athena in the past where, you know, we see a lot of that triple DPS. That's kind of their identity. That's where their strength lies, especially where you see that Pharah being played quite a bit by Teru. But I think WGS struggles because they don't have an identity like that. We've seen a lot of different looks from them, particularly the 3-2-1, I think, more often than not. But a lot of triple DPS looks that have had varying levels of success, as well as the 3-3, where we even saw them taking on O2 Blast, where it looked like it possibly could have been a decent look for them, but they don't have enough time on it. So taking on a team like O2 Blast, who are kind of the kings of the 3-3 in this region, and I mean, we could probably even spread out from there. To be able to look that good, certainly a good start, but I guess not worth your investment, I guess, at this point, because if you do manage to make your way into playoffs, I don't know.
Okay, but not only does Gabe Bolshi have the best name in Contenders Korea, he's sporting one of the best heroes. We got Torb with a Sombra and a Pharah. You got 3 DPS. At least, you know, different from our last series, they opt to run 2 supports instead of maybe have another off tank to help Enocast. So maybe not as strong of a front line due to that single main tank, but they have so much damage from many angles coming in, and Gen.G will have to figure this one out.
So they're adapting, and you say figuring it out. Well, they're going to do just that here with that, I mean, a very similar composition to what we saw from Mystic, where you're going to see a lot of that frontline pressure. Certainly going to be able to win out the shield trade, you would have to imagine, with the incorporation of the D.Va as well. But WGS having that triple DPS will allow them some favor.
And how many angles can you really take on this attack? Like, you have to hope you can break out of the corridor, which they do manage to do that. Now Glister and Weakkeep can take these different angles, and nothing can really help Enocast. He's taking so much damage. So Gen.G can happily step on this point for free, and WGS may be a little bit sad this fight didn't go any longer because they don't have any ultimates they can walk away and contest point B with.
Yeah, they'll have Infrasight, not the biggest yeah, not the biggest momentum ult that you're looking for at all, but at least it allows them to see where WGS is setting up, and you didn't allow too much time or opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. True. Yeah. WGS doesn't have too much opportunity to do much of what they've got as well. So Gen.G setting things back up, and Gen.G now coming into this point, looking for those same picks that opened up point A for them, and then Dragon Strike. They know that they have that available down the line to take WGS out of that comfortable position that they're going to get locked into.
And WGS leaving the room of Gen.G to set up on this point. Triple tank now only relying on Bliss in the air with this Valkyrie. They get a free tick. And this is despite maybe 1 kill going through this entire time, and maybe the most important kill because Gen.G now completely resetting.
So Akita again holding on to that Dragon Strike, but I would say very much this next fight favors WGS. Not only do they have the respawn advantage, but they're also building up to a lot of ultimates that could actually shut down Gen.G's approach. You're talking about Gen.G who wants to stay collective, stay together to allow Bliss opportunity to actually get his healing without having to go back and forth across the field, and then you lay down an EMP, Molten Core, or Barrage, any one or any combination of the 3, and all of a sudden Gen.G, they're dead.
It's up to these snipers of Gen.G to keep an eye on that Valentine in the air. Oh, they spot him in the corner. Almost getting that finish. I'm surprised they didn't. Hooking him right down, or at least his mercy, and following up onto Valentine. That's exactly what Gen.G had to focus on. Now pushing up their shield, can maybe get that second tick as WGS. I mean, Gaybolshi died with Molten Core. That was maybe their only chance to regain the zone. And now a Dragon seals off the left doorway. That final tick goes through, and Gen.G finished with a fabulous timing.
That looked real good from them. I mean, it was also so important that they were able to get that first tick captured early on as well, because that allowed them to not have to even take the next fight. So they were able to utilize everything, get that very concise victory, the full team kill, and that opened everything up for them. So WGS, despite their best efforts and despite what was a really solid setup with their ultimates, kind of threw that one to the wayside. That should have been a defensible position for them to be able to ward off Gen.G.
But it seems like Gen.G, they know their winning condition, right? Even when we saw in the Paul, you had Glister on the Zarya deal with the supports before he went for the grab, and Gen.G recognized that their biggest issue is going to be the Pharah. So then we're going right after Valentine and his Mercy fellow friend. Then it was easy walking that in. 5-minute time bank, so scary. Now WGS have to do even better. And I wonder what kind of compositions they'll be coming out with, but at least we can talk about the defense, where it's the double main tank of the Winston and Orisa, where usually Gen.G have run the double main tank before, but it's been with a Rein.
Yeah, we've seen that Reinhardt approach from them. However, I think this is the more standard approach. If you are going to be running the double main tank, you typically do see it with the Winston instead. And what that allows you to do is have that safe backline, but still someone going forward, keeping that pressure centered forward as well onto the enemy team, so that they can't settle into what is effectively an incremental attack. And Gen.G, in doing that, they also create chaos and also allow for Glister to have those massive dynamites where it's going to be virtually unprotected by WGS, and he can get those bobs up very early on.
A bit of a scout from NOCAS. That's why they're kind of taking their time. He bowls on in, bowls right on out. Ace makes the swap. Now we have double sniper going with the triple tank. Oporochi on the Mercy, solo healing, so getting a lot of weight on his shoulders. So we'll have to dip, dive, and dodge out of a lot of incoming damage from Gen.G. But that first pick potential is what WGS are going to be leaning on.
And this swap basically makes Oberon more susceptible to getting taken down as well. I didn't even get to finish my statement.
Just yoinked, just like your point. Oberon with the Winston. It's going to be hard to go up against exactly that. He swaps to the Hammond just to get back quicker. Basically not halt and hook, but that Pharmacy has to just get out of dodge. WGS can now walk towards the point, steal Gen.G off to the right side. Oh, and they're getting even more ult charge out of this. Gen.G, it's going to be hard for them to stop the bleeding here.
Yeah, now that Noah has really settled into this, I mean, Inokas and Noah coming together, it looks like synergy that has been worked on for years and years, but that's just simply not the case. And despite that, able to solidify these kills, but they're still going for that solo heals approach. So same problem that could arise here as we saw from Element Mystic earlier.
Gen.G's focus is into the buildings, maybe trying to get after Oporochi, but they lose their own Mercy in the process, and Gen.G running that solo heal is the same situation. Now they just give up more ult charge. Maybe instead of setting up for the point B, not giving up ult charge, now WGS can walk this one in. Now making a couple swaps. Still the double sniper, triple tank for WGS walking into B.
And Gen.G, they go for kind of basically prepping themselves for a stall approach. You already see the Brig being incorporated, Oberon staying on the Hammond, and we definitely like that. But the thing that I find most interesting is that the Doomfist is actually still in play from Glister, despite the combo that's going to come from Inokas and Noah, where they could actually catch him out, and then extra damage from the double sniper. I wouldn't want to be Glister on Doomfist against that.
Yeah, you get yoinked, you get pulled everywhere, but at least Doomfist can maybe survive a little bit more with these shields, but Gen.G not surviving quite well, and I was trying to hype up the fact that maybe Glister could do something. Not the fact so far, and Bliss might not want to go for that Resurrect, just trying to stabilize behind the shield. He knows that Bliss is the most important member now that Creative is gone, and Noah is clearing the field with the whole hog, stopping the bleeding for the moment. Which Gen.G haven't fully reset yet because Glister's back for vengeance.
Yeah, he's come back and he's looking to try to just throw everybody into the walls, and it seems like it's kind of working, but still so much pressure to deal with. And you also have the snipers in play as well that can just take you out with one single click to the head.
Can deal through headshots. Ace getting a few, sneaking those one by. I think maybe it was in his third one if I knew how to count. But now WGS looking for their second tick. Gen.G going to stall comms. They got the Mei out. This can get them some time. I believe if I can read properly, the time bank is getting smaller for WGS compared to the 5 minutes and 3 that Gen.G had on theirs. Is WGS still trying to finish the job, using that whole hog, going into the backline with the Doomfist. But now you have the mines from Oberon, maybe trying to go after the supports, getting some space, but Gen.G just can't stabilize whatsoever. They don't have their full 6 going into this fight, so it's just a matter of time, and WGS finish Paris.
So a similar situation to what we saw in our last series, where initially we saw Element Mystic have a great time, and then it was almost matched, actually, by Meta Athena, a team that was 0-4, and now kind of replicated here. I mean, 5 minutes versus 422, and again, a really solid team against a team that going into this matchup is 0-4. So this is an interesting dynamic at play here, especially here on Paris, and I think there is a shot now for WGS to maybe steal one away.
But that whole hog on the replay was what really bought WGS a lot of free space. They were able to stabilize and get their Orisa shield set up. So then it was really hard for Gen.G to figure out what doorway they wanted to come out of. Let's see. 4 minutes and 22 versus 5 minutes and 3. It's going to be WGS attacking first. But Gen.G, it's no double main tank so far. Wooyah will be on the Diva.
Yeah, a more standard approach from them, especially with the 2-2-2 split that they're going with right now, where this is really going to be focused on just maintaining control of plateau and then falling back to point should it be required, and really just kind of trying to maintain their composure. That's why they're enlisting the Diva as opposed to the standard of the Hog with this composition. So now being able to answer WGS, I would imagine WGS would want to go with a dive against this. That's typically what we see from them anyways. It seems like that's kind of their comfort selection. So if they do make swaps, I would imagine that would be the direction that they would go in, although they could effectively just match the Orisa with the Orisa. And they're going to go for straight up trying to break the shield initially and then open up for picks.
Yeah, the triple tank, although it might take some time for them to set up. And I think this is smart for Gen.G to not go for that double main tank, because Wooyah got immediately picked, I think, on that Winston at the start. I think that was him, or maybe the other way around. But still, now the Diva can help just win and slow things down. The damage mitigation for the shield, self-destruct for zone control. WGS are looking for these halt and hooks. Wooyah is going to try and deny that, but it's going to be slow. WGS working on rotations towards the right, it seems.
WGS looking for those sniper picks. They're just trying to destroy the shield instantly to allow for Ace to find those kills, but he can't even find Wikid just yet, as Wikid's just all over the place right now, and finally he gets hooked out, but saved!
Shook his head like, please do not kill me. But Gen.G have that high ground too. They can get a little bit extra damage over that shield, but WGS using that Valkyrie cannot use Oporochi, lose him at all, neither can Bliss. As Resurrects, Bliss still managed to get Wiki back, but gets punished immediately. Now Gen.G don't have, well, I thought they only had solo heal, but Creative is still there, and he has Nano, helping the rest of the team stay healed up. Still, time is bleeding here for WGS.
Yeah, they went through 1:15 on that first approach, but they should be able to collate and actually just get back into this fight very quickly, whereas Gen.G, as they're rotating back over, they have a lot of ultimates, but they have to get into position first. You can see a lot of members still rotating back over, Glister being the last of those players from Gen.G to make his way back to the point, but WGS giving that time to get the rotation started of their own.
Gen.G starting that supercharger. They're gonna win the shield duel, throwing the dragon into the house they're trying to escape from. Maybe you're overkilling a little bit with the barrage, but still taking care of the main shield provider of WGS completely kills this attack.
You can see Ace actually off on that off angle through main on the left side, looking at it from the perspective of the defense, where as we do see WGS approaching through that little cafe, Ace is just clearly, with that off angle, able to take down any member of Gen.G that pokes out, overextends even just a little bit, or backs off just a step too far.
Try this one again. Now Valentine is going to lead the way. Oh, Wooyah eats it. All right, that's not going to happen. WGS, though, they can still lead the way with Noah's whole hog, but the self-destruct, they get yoinked in it. It's a very sturdy bus truck thing that maybe protected them in that case. As WGS now throwing all the ultimates they can, but Wiki with the 3K. The defense holds on from Gen.G. That time is getting ever so shorter.
And Barrage at the ready for Wiki as well, as they're going to be able to solidify a couple of late staggered kills. And there's the res onto Glister just to make sure that they have everybody up and ready for what could be the last fight, should WGS take some time to set this next one up. Otherwise, there'll be a mad dash at the very end with just seconds left, and that's all that they're going to have. So now we've seen WGS take this approach time and time again, going through that cafe, moving through to the left side, trying to get up to the staircase, getting caught, trying to leave Ace behind, looking for picks and not finding any. Looks like they're going to do this the same.
Can't eat this dragon. Stops them from rotating into that house temporarily. But meanwhile, the shield war has been all in favor of Gen.G. Now you have Wiki that can have a barrage. As soon as you do any rotations, your shield is not only dented and broken, but maybe the rest of your team. WGS now going into the same position time and time again. They need to win the shield war. They also need to rotate towards the point. There's only a few seconds remaining before overtime will start. Is Valkyrie in the air for Overwatch. And there's a barrage from Wiki. Dives on in. At least Valentine was quick with the shot, but not before a 3-for-1 exchange for that far player on the defense. And Gen.G only need to take care of the Mercy. And that will stop everything from WGS.
So they shaved off almost 4.5 minutes from WGS's time bank and didn't allow even a single tick to go through. Gen.G now have just over 5 minutes, 5:03 to be exact, to just get one single tick. And that's all that they have to do. We saw WGS meandering about a little bit for quite some time, trying to work their way in with the same exact rotation, met by the same exact ult rotation in turn from Gen.G every single time. We'll see if Gen.G can turn things around and continue to look solid with an approach of their own. Again, so much time in their allotment right now to be able to get that one single tick and go up to it 2-0.
WGS just relied on these snipers to get picks, but Gen.G just stayed happily and safe behind a shield, where the shield war even then still went in Gen.G's favor. So Gabe Bolshi going right back to the Torb, where I like the pick for obviously what Torb brings to the table, Molten Core, speech, but for the round that we saw them play the Torb in, I don't even think he got the Molten Core out before they got run over.
No, it looks like they're gonna try it yet again, and yeah, he didn't actually get it online, and even on point B, he wasn't able to get it out as he was getting aggressive, and Gen.G countered hard and dropped him into the dirt, so he was never even able to get it out at all. So WGS now again though with this triple DPS, solo tank Inacast here on defense, and having to use this composition to ward off whatever is going to come their way, as Gen.G can make swap after swap after swap as they need to, as they see fit, to be able to deal with this composition.
It's going to take a lot of Widow bullets to break that shield. Oh, it's broken. But Gen.G with the 3 tanks. Didn't take too long. But the 3 tanks, strong friendly from Gen.G, but you said the resource department, only having a solo heal is going to be the problem. But only 33%. The job's not going to be too hard for Gen.G if they can just take the fight, at least have a good momentum start. As now you've killed Overwatch. Thankfully, there's a second support. I noticed it this time. And WGS, though, it's still not over. And now a lot of focus is going on Genoa.
You can see how WGS, over time, as we do see these picks actually go in favor of Gen.G, they're just going to crumble, fall apart. This fight's going to break down, and everything's going to go in favor of Gen.G.
Oh, that 33% is starting. WGS still have members, but nowhere near the point. Gen.G, with an amazing defensive hold, made their job so much easier, and now lead the series 2-0 over WGS.
And decisive victory there for Gen.G. It looked like it was going to be pretty close. WGS capped with 422, if I'm not mistaken, initially, versus the 503 that Gen.G had, but just kind of floundering about a little bit, I would say, on their second approach, and not able to actually get the job done. Eventually led to their demise. 2-0, though, in favor of Gen.G. That's a good start for them, as they're currently sitting 4-0 and want to keep it that way at lossless.
Well, let's see if WGS can keep their series alive. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we get back, it will be hybrid. See you soon.